Welcome, Mr. Hausman. How was your flight today?
Hi. Thanks for asking. I wore my voice out over all the excitement about the new Pokemon game, so I'm using this voice app to start the show today. Lots of Pokemons to be found in the airport.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Aloha, mi amigos. Welcome to the show, No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. I, of course, am the Glenn Hausman, not a Glenn Hausman. I like to consider myself the Glenn Hausman. Yes, I'm all about ego over here. And speaking of ego, I decided I need to have a catchphrase to open up every single one of these shows. And this week I'm going to Aloha, mi amigos, but I don't know. Maybe that's not so good. Maybe it's perfect. I don't know. I'd like your thoughts. I'd like your suggestions on how to get this bad boy rolling every week. Before we do get going, I want to thank you all for listening very much and supporting me as you are reading my columns twice a week that appear in Hotel Management. Serving as editor-at-large with those folks and have a great time representing them at my speaking gigs around the country and really helping to get them into the thought leadership position for the hospitality industry. So I got a lot of great stuff in there. Make sure you read my stuff at hotelmanagement.net. And if that's a little too much for you, follow me at @TravelingGlenn, and we'll notify you when new shows of the podcast and new articles are posted. And please, if you have a chance, give me that 5-star rating on iTunes. It'll be very helpful, and it will make my wife proud of me. Something I've been desperately trying to do ever since the day we met, and maybe this is the key to making that happen. But you guys out there, my loyal listeners, you're the ones that have fate in my hands, and I am counting on you. So please rate me 5 stars on iTunes. And if you can't, write me a note at glenn@rouse.media and tell me why you are unable to do this. All right, so I got another vexing problem this week, and I know you guys are really shocked to hear that. I keep promising you that the first half of the show is going to have another person for me to interact with, but I am alone again this week. There are just too many people on vacation, and I am extremely jealous of them, and that is what happens here in July. And August too, but I promise you we will get things going again. I'm going to be recording another episode with Mr. Bruce Ford, so for the next show, we'll have him back, and then Dave Eisen will be making an appearance again in just a couple of weeks. He's on vacation right now in Spain, God bless him. I really wish I was in Spain right now on vacation, although I have been trying to do a lot of vacationing this summer in my backyard, and by vacationing I mean maybe jump in the pool for 20 minutes at a time in the middle of a workday, but I just can't seem to get it going. Probably because I don't have a heater in there, probably because it's too cold, and most definitely because I am too much of a wuss. Yes, this amazing travel industry and all the experiences I have had have softened me. They've ruined me, in fact, for what normal people can do, but I can handle that. I can be a man about it. And I promise from this point forward, I will stop complaining about it. All right, I lied about that. I'm going to continue to complain about that and many other things as I move along in my life over here. All right, so I did want to talk about one thing that's been kind of troubling me. Very controversial new book that's coming out called The Voyeur's Motel by renowned author Gay Talese. And I'm having one of those moments regarding the release of this new book because it's causing me an existential crisis. While I love the topic of this book, and I also happen to kind of wish I wrote it myself, I just feel that there's something really wrong with it. This book comes out July 12th, and I'm sure it's available on Amazon and at a local book retailer near you. Are there local book retailers left anymore? I keep hearing that they're making a comeback, but I'm not so sure about that. But I think the book itself is really, really interesting and quite the topic that I think is perfect for a book of this nature. But again, I am a little bit feeling bad that I don't think morally that I can read it. Here's what's going on. In January of 1980, Talese sent a mysterious letter ahead of the publication of this book, Thy Neighbor's Wife, which became a pretty huge seller because it focused on the sexual proclivities of the average American. And if you think about what life was like in January of 1980, we were still pretty conservative as a society. Liberalism hadn't really taken hold as much as it has today, and sexual mores were usually kept quiet, in the closet, very secret. I know we went through the sexual revolution of the 60s and the feminist revolution in the 70s, which created a firecracker reaction of sexuality in America, but it was still something that was held behind closed doors, not out and in the public in a lot of the ways like it is now. So what happened here is this guy, Gerald Foos, bought a motel, with the sole purpose of spying on his guests. He actually built an observation platform above the ceiling and spied on guests in specific rooms through vents in that ceiling. Strange, right? But also extremely curious. He called himself a voyeur, and he utilized this platform to watch people in their most private moments. And you know what I mean by that. Being a voyeur, though, is not a one-sided thing. So that's kind of where I'm getting hooked up on this moral dilemma. And I'm hoping that you folks could drop me a line at glenn@rouse.me to tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong, get in on this discussion. You know, when you're a voyeur, I think it's kind of like an agreement between the voyeur and the ones that are being watched. If it's not, it's pretty much just spying, which I think in the context of this is a morally reprehensible act, because we're talking about sexual activities between consenting adults, and having somebody watch you do something extremely intimate without your permission is wrong, right? So there's a lot of controversy out there now about this book, whether or not it's even factual. And it turns out that Foos may have sold the motel that he claims the events took place before the events that he claims took place. Yes, roll that back. That sentence, I think, actually did make sense. So I got this moral dilemma here, right? Can you read a book that promotes this ideology of voyeurism, which I think is spying? Now, if everybody was open and into it, I think that would make a big difference. But the book has all that great stuff that Americans love. We got sex, we got drugs, there's even a murder that's talked about, and it's all decidedly lascivious from all the accounts that I have read. So I'm sure it's going to be top of people's summer reading list, because it is juicy and it does play into all of these themes that 21st century, summer 2016 Americans are really interested in. Quite frankly, I'm left really, really wanting to read it. I love hotel-related entertainment, and I would, under normal circumstances, really dive into this book. You know, I'll tell you why. Because I'm getting so tired of the fix-it hotel TV shows that are out there. They're just way too formulaic. I'm getting tired of disinterested owners. A guy that comes in, he says, "Oh, your hotel sucks. Look, it's dirty. Look, you're doing a horrible job. I'm going to tell you that you need to do a better job. We're going to fight about it. You're going to deny as owners that you're doing anything wrong. Then we're all going to hug it out, and you're going to make proactive change." Those are the kinds of things we see on TV. Those are the kinds of things that are darn boring for me at this point in my life, and I just really wish we would have another TV show. So producers, if you're out there listening, how about hiring me to do a TV show? I could work in your formula just as well as the other folks can, but maybe together we could come up with something different. All right. Here we go. Sorry for the shameless plugs, but I can't help myself. I'm feeling a little frothy today, right? Now, here's the deal. This book, it's just not right, and I can't recommend that anyone read it at all. Even though, like I said, I'm into it, I love the idea behind it, and I just wish it was with people's permission. Fact is, I don't watch Woody Allen films, I don't watch Roman Polanski films, and I won't stay in a hotel with the name Trump on it. Now, all that's easy because I don't really love Woody Allen movies or Roman Polanski movies, and I certainly don't like Trump's hotels. Nothing against him in this context. It's just that I'm not into hotels gilded with gold. And as far as the political stuff goes, I may or may not agree with him. That's up for you guys to figure out from this podcast, but that's not why I'm not, so it's easy for me to stay away from those kinds of things. Now, if I loved Woody Allen films, if I love Roman Polanski films, and I was a huge Trump supporter, I'd probably have a little bit hard keeping the moral high ground, but I am going to do that nonetheless. It's all right. It's easy. It's easy for me to do. But with this book, it's really harder for me to stay away from it. But you know what? I am going to absolutely have to do that. But I really think it brings up a lot of larger questions that we need to look into ourselves. I know I'm crowing about being morally righteous right now, but I'm certainly not that. But I think it's really time in the world for us to take a stand on particular issues that are important to us. And I think for hoteliers in the hospitality industry, no matter how curious we are, no matter how interesting this book is, no matter how much it will entertain us, We could never, ever, ever support a book that legitimizes spying on our hotel guests. If we did something like that, it will hurt our relationship with our customers and put the entire industry not just in jeopardy, but moral jeopardy, which I think is a pretty serious thing. So I'm curious. I want to ask you folks, and I want you to write me at Traveling Glenn on Twitter or Glenn at rouse.media. If you think that this is the right choice that I'm making, am I making the wrong choice? Or have you ever fought the instinct to fight something back in this way, to boycott it, take a position, and do what you think is the right thing, even though it's hard to do? I know it's an insanely captivating thought of seeing people behave unvarnished, but you know where I stand now. What about you? The other big issue I'm thinking about this week is, why is the hotel industry continuing to fight against online travel agencies? I'm starting to feel that we are spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of thought combating something that can't be combated. The OTAs are here. They're here to stay, and they attract a specific subset of travelers that is actually critical to your business. I hear a lot of times saying we're going to be able to convert those people to stay in guests and join our loyalty programs, but I've always thought that's a little bit made up information. I feel like that people were telling themselves that this is the truth, that they were making it true in their own heads, because the idea of them not actually being able to convert these guests to loyal customers is something that they wanted to do so badly. But interestingly enough, a new study is out by Calibri Labs. That's Kalibri, Calibri Labs, and Cindy Estes Green, who's CEO and co-founder of Calibri Labs. Sorry, Cindy, I didn't mean to keep mispronouncing the company name. She presented some really interesting information and says the billboard effect is dead. The billboard effect is you get your name up at an OTA. Person books a particular hotel through the OTA. They stay at your hotel. You sign them up for a loyalty program, and magically, poof, just like that, they're coming back to you every single time, avoiding the OTAs and booking direct with you. But funny thing is, my friends at the OTAs have been telling me all along, anecdotally, this is not and will never be the case, and I completely agree with them. OTAs for a lot of people is a method to an end. They're not frequent travelers. They're 1 or 2 time travelers throughout the year that aren't interested in joining a loyalty program. They're really fixated on a particular location and a cost for any hotel in that particular location. It's nothing personal. They don't care about you. They don't care about your hotel. They don't care about your ability to book direct. They only care about saving a few bucks. And that's the end of it. Now, here's some statistical proof that I'm absolutely right, proved by Estes Green's research, what I think is absolutely amazing. According to her, in 2014, just 7% of guests went back to a hotel after booking through an OTA. And wait, there's more. It gets worse. That number was 9.3% in 2012, so it's dropped a good percentage in the last 2 years. That tells me that hoteliers are losing a battle that was unwinnable to begin with. I think stop fighting entirely. With all of the energy and all of the work and all of this construct that you've created for yourselves to convince yourselves that you can make a change, well, you know what? You can't. You can't change customer behavior in such a quick and orderly fashion. And the fact is, you know this as hoteliers, and yet you're still allowing the emotional context of the OTA situation drive you to the wrong decision making, right? So here's why I think. It's a destructive emotional component that's not being discussed openly. We need to get that out there and talk about it. I feel that many hoteliers feel that they must fight this for some sort of moral win. But the fact of the matter is, the hotel industry has gone gaga over a lot of consumer trends, like revamping lobbies, adapting guest rooms, elevating F&B, all pointing to how consumers want to do business with you and changing your business to do with business with them in that way. I'm not sure anyone has ever said business more in a sentence, but I'm going to give it a shot time and time again. So here's the deal. There are some guests that still want and will always want to go through an OTA, and you need to come to terms to that. My advice, take all that mental energy and convert it into finding ways to get already loyal guests to pay more. They already like you. They want to spend time with you. and they want to spend more money with you. You just need to figure out ways to do it. So get out of your own hotel hell and focus on what you could really control instead of pretending you can be in control of customers who book through OTAs. Well, that's my spiel. Just before we move on to the next interview, I want to thank you guys again for listening, and make sure you read those columns every week at hotelmanagement.net. Follow me at traveling.glenn and hit me up on those ratings for iTunes. Tell your friends, families, random people on the street to listen to No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. Yes, that's right. And now, before we have a commercial break, I want to tell you, you are in store for a very exciting interview. I had the opportunity to speak with Sean Worker. He runs BridgeStreet Global Hospitality, and we spent a lot of time worrying about Airbnb and their effect on the business, but it's a company like these guys that I think the business has to look out for. So check it out, listen in, and thanks so much for listening.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Get a $50 Best Western gift card when you stay 2 separate times. Plus, enjoy breakfast and free high-speed internet. Rewards members get even more when you book direct at bestwestern.com. Visit bestwestern.com for terms and conditions. Each Best Western branded hotel is independently owned and operated.
Get right into it.
See what happens. Well, I like doing it that way. I think it's more natural. It just kind of leads you into the whole thing. So, I'm here. Reston, Virginia, home of BridgeStreet Global Hospitality with President and CEO Sean Worker. Hello, sir. How are you?
How you doing, Glenn?
Sorry I'm so low energy. I just got out of the car. It's been a 6.5-hour trip, which should have been 4 hours, but thank you, I-95, for always being really busy.
Well, the good news is that was just, a mile and a half?
Yeah. I did pretty well getting all the way down to about 10 miles out of here, and then it was just gridlock. But that is the lovely Washington, D.C. area. Now, L.A.
We're known for bridges, as you can tell. I think we got 3 in the whole town.
Yeah, I think so. Now, L.A., they think they're real cool because they complain about traffic a lot. But no, I think you down here in the Washington, D.C. area have really got that
we own it.
away.
And you should see people going away for the holiday 4th.
Yeah.
And getting over to the island. It takes them a day there and a day back. So they have one night there.
I wouldn't doubt it. And, we're recording
this
conversation right after the July 4th holiday. And,
Yeah.
I was home last weekend. It was great because I was on the road pretty much all of June. And I was home, and the family's like, let's go to Jones Beach. And for those of you who don't know, it's a big beach on Long Island, southern Long Island, to go see the fireworks. And I just knew it was going to be a horrible, atrocious thing. To watch 20 minutes of fireworks, it would take 3 hours
so you
each way.
You had a case, and there was 20 beers in it, so one a minute. That's what you're up to.
Well, what happened was it wound up that we had a party the day before, and I had those leftover beers at home, and at some point during the day, we decided it might be more fun just to stay at home.
And drink the beer.
Right, drink the beer and kind of lay around and do
And then
nothing.
your wife told you that that's not going to happen.
But I lit a sparkler for my kids, and I said, woo!
Oh, you're really
July
pushing the
4th.
boat out,
Well,
Glenn?
I like to spoil them.
Yeah,
so.
you clearly. Yeah.
I really do. So, one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about today is, everyone talks about hotels, but one's grabbing all those headlines right now are Airbnb, but I think that they've got it wrong because me, as a business traveler, as a hospitality professional, I don't really want to have that hassle. It's weird. It's strange. It's not as great as I think people are making it out to be for the career-minded person who's been out for a while in the real world and doesn't want to have those kind of experiences. I love what you guys are doing with the service departments, and now you've moved a lot beyond that because I think you really become part of the fabric of the city. You have that residential kind of feel to it, but you still have that sense that you're in a hotel-like environment with the way that you're taken care of.
The lines are blurring as we can see it. Like when you asked me this question a few years back,
Right.
I'm not too sure we would have positioned ourselves in that manner. We were on that journey of standard branding, conventionality, taking something complicated, making it understood.
Right.
And where we've moved to is an accommodation marketplace.
Yeah.
And people are looking for experiences, and they're looking to go home with a story, a real story. Some people call it authentic, some people call it real, but you want to go home with the story. You just shared a story, right, about July 4th weekend. You want to go home and say, this is what I did in DC or Paris or Dubai or Hong Kong or any city you're in, and go home with a story.
You're absolutely right. I think a big part of the travel experience is having those bragging rights.
How about a good story
Right.
as opposed to an airline story?
Right. Well, some of those are pretty good too. Although they are nightmares. It is true though. I would rather have much more positive experiences, and I think that's what people are looking for. Not look what happened to me, but you won't believe what I did. You won't believe the experience that I had.
And so if we can do nothing else but offer an environment locally, where they are in a story world, where they create their own story book, we have an obligation to do the following: get them the keys, get them into a great apartment or a home, get them into a place where everything works, and provide the same level of hospitality you would in a hotel, with housekeeping services and everything else you would expect. That's just the rules of entry. However, the moment you step outside our door, like for instance, I was staying in New York when we were up there at the the investment conference, right? And I'm a user of our product. Well, I'm on the 34th floor, and I have 2 balconies, and I stand outside, and honest to goodness, I'm going, I can't believe I'm here.
Right.
Not because it's just our product, but I'm looking at on one balcony, I'm looking directly at Freedom Tower, and I turn right, I'm looking at the Hudson River.
Amazing.
And then behind me, I'm looking at where the ball drops on New Year's Eve.
Amazing.
And I'm standing in Times Square, except 34 floors up. That's a story.
Well, I don't want to be a one-upper, but I was in a hotel where the room was barely larger than the bed, and it looked over an alley. So
okay, I got lucky. But the point being is, I actually told my friends about my own experience, and going, you can't believe this. And it was one of those days where it was sunny, it was clear, and it was just a perfect day.
I love it.
And that's what you look for.
Yeah, and that really sets the stage for experience. And maybe that's kind of what you're doing. You're not just providing the accommodations, you're providing a level of comfort and setting the stage for them to explore.
No one's going to remember the bed, right? As long as the bed is good, no one's going to tell a story about the bed unless it's incredibly exceptional. But you are going to go home and say, I can't believe this. I stood there in the middle of one of the busiest cities in the world and had a peaceful moment where I saw 3 of the most iconic views from one place on a balcony. And then you go downstairs, and then you're across from the M&M store, and you got the Hershey store, and you keep going through it, and then you go back to the sanctuary, and you tell people about that. Or in Paris, you do the same thing, and you stand on a balcony, you're staring straight at the Eiffel Tower, and you're going downstairs to your favorite cafe that is not a hotel restaurant.
Yeah, because as much as hotel restaurants have come a long way, I think when you're in a major city in particular, that's not really the type of experience you're looking for, other than maybe breakfast.
Right, and even breakfast, what we're doing with Mode as an example, we're actually, with the one that we're developing, is that experience, although we don't have a restaurant, we've set it up so that you can have breakfast, or you can bring back something. So actually the experience we're having, we're partnering with a local patisserie that will come to us every morning with fresh baguettes, and they set up a stand for coffee. They're meeting someone really authentic.
Right.
And they're going to know, and then, that person will go away and come back and it's fresh the next morning. They're not a hotelier. They're a local restaurateur, and we're bringing them to us.
I love that. So it's like bringing the fabric of the neighborhood to the guests.
And easy. So it's easy. The same thing so every city we're going into, it's the same purpose. The one we're opening in DC is the same thing. We purposely selected a site that's next to some good local restaurants.
That's going to be on DuPont Circle.
DuPont Circle, yeah. It probably doesn't get any better than that.
No.
Right? And so that's all about the neighborhood. Right. Even though you're on DuPont Circle, you're down the road from the White House. You're right there in one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in DC. And we're going to make it so easy for you with your Instagram wall to share your memories with other guests, so that they're referring you, the guest, rather than the concierge, to a local place.
I love that. Now, I wanted to talk about Mode and the different brands that you folks have, but you really hit on a point, so I'll get to that in a minute. One of the things
the first time in my life.
Yeah.
You're very kind.
I know. Well, you told me you're going home to see your parents, so maybe you could tell them about that.
Oh,
when you get to Ireland.
Yeah, at 90 years of age, they're really excited about that. Let me tell you.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They
Thrilled.
They live and
love
breathe
that story.
I'm sure your dad's like, tell me more about Mode.
He's 90, and now he's probably know I'm coming, and he's leaving.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've been talking about and trying to preach is that it's not good enough to just have art in your hotel. It's not good enough just to have nice accommodations. You need to have social media moments, things that people want to react to in the moment and share it with all of their friends and followers in the online community.
And, you know, when you connect the media in an immediacy, which is, if you take mode, it's about the guest referring the guests rather than the concierge referring you to the one that they're going to get the best commission from.
Right. That's an interesting idea.
Right. So it's peer-to-peer recommendations that says, hey, I saw a post on your screen in our communal area, and it says that, you know, Donnelly's bar down the street has got the best, you know, fish and chips. Great. Where do I find that?
Yeah.
Fish and chips. And go talk to Frank down there, who's, you know, or it could be an Italian restaurant, it could be the best Thai restaurant, it could be, you know, a West End show like Kinky Boots or something like that. And people are referring it to themselves, but this snackable content that can be posted either directly or on their Facebook or referring others to an authentic experience that's been validated is a now moment.
Right.
It's a now moment.
Exactly.
It's not a tomorrow moment. It's not a yesterday moment. It's right now.
And we're never going to get to talk about the specifics of this, because now I want to talk to you about now moments. It seems to me that's kind of where we have shifted as a society. We're very focused on this present happening in this moment. We're not really thinking about the future. We're not really thinking long term. It's now. Instant gratification, run amok almost.
Right. So, instant gratification. You take Brexit as an example. I know I'm going off on a tangent here.
I love tangents.
And you already know this, I'm sure, is that the number one search, talk about in the moment. Did you read this?
Of course.
You did. What was the hours before Brexit was, what is Brexit? And the next morning it was, what is the EU?
Right.
It doesn't get any more now than that.
Nope.
Especially now, 24 hours too late. That is absolutely in all of our society at this point. Either we're procrastinators to a whole new level, and there's a whole industry that has shaped itself around human procrastination, which, fair play to them, I wish I had thought of that, which I didn't. But equally, people want to know last minute. So I'm going to a destination. Like you drove down, right? Your entire agenda is not set.
Right.
But if you see something interesting that pops up on one of the social media sites you're connected to, and you maybe have half an hour where you can wander off and find something that's a good story that you wouldn't ordinarily have thought about or be aware of, but was referred to you in an authentic way, you'd probably do it. I can see it in your eyes, Glenn.
Absolutely.
You're ready to leave right now.
Well, I wish. And, you know, you're so close to the Udvar Hazy Air and Space Museum down here.
Yep.
It's like, as I was getting closer to you, I was like, oh, if I could only just go and check out the space shuttle and go for a walk around that place. I love that museum. I'd love to see it. But the good news is I did stop for Waffle House on the way down. So that was really important to me.
So that's what's on your shirt.
Yes. Excuse me. Let me look that up. A little too much
looking good there
for me. All right. So what I love about Mode, you're calling it a part hotel.
Yes.
Right? So it's got the sensibilities of both the apartment kind of lifestyle and the hotel living in a community type of experience. And I love how you call it like designed for the new tribe, social connected and always on the move. Thank you for not pegging it to something with the name millennial in it. So I appreciate that, because I really think that we're all moving, and a big chunk of society is going in that direction of the sharing, the moving 24/7. And now that we're talking about it, I'm wondering how much of this fast-paced, information-based lifestyle is contributing to our inability to really focus on any one thing and really learn about it over a longer period of time.
So we could wax lyrical around this for hours.
I think we could.
So maybe I just take a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Right. Being that we're dealing with little pieces.
Give me the headline
snippets.
and how it ties into what you're doing.
So let's take snippets. We're in information overload.
Right.
So you were speaking earlier off mic about the paradox of choice, right? And so in some respects, it's what's in front of you now that you make choices on. So if it's smaller, you know, we see it. It's down to a class. 10 best ways to do this, 5 things to do, 3 easy ways. Well, you click on that because there's only 3 easy ways. You know, if there's 10, you don't. So for what we're trying to do with Mode is say we just want to be part of whatever those 3 easy things you want to do. It may be that you use, instead of using a rental car, you're going to use Uber, which is an experience in itself. Then I don't really want to stay in a hotel, but I really want the security of a hotel. And I want something different where if I'm staying there for up to 7 nights, maybe 2 of those nights, I kind of feel like if I can get farm-to-table food and it's just right there for just finishing rather than preparing, and I can do that one night and it's just my food, my way, that makes me feel comfortable and safe.
Right.
It's a retreat position.
Interesting.
That being said, if I want to go and engage with a community, I can do it right outside my door. And a lot of people when you're traveling, you don't want to be the person sitting, how restaurants do, they make sure that they put you right in the middle where you're on your own. Go somewhere where there's plenty of other people that are traveling, and now you're part of that tribe.
Right.
Right? The mobile tribe, the now tribe. And everybody's got something in common.
Right.
Right? As opposed to the manufactured communal table, you will sit at the communal table. That's great. Thanks for that. It's like getting somebody sitting to you next on a plane, and they want to talk to you all night, and you don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, I really, as much as I love people, I really hate people at the same time, especially on the airplane. I find the airplane my last sanctuary for peace and quiet and to be left alone.
Yeah, I'm not a therapist. Yeah, this is random selection at its worst.
That's what that little cart going up and down the aisle with the booze is for.
That's it. Yeah. Reach in and see what you get. Yeah. So people are. I think we're all looking for that. And I know you talk about kind of categorization of age, millennials, boomers. I think it's the psychographic that's been around for a long time. But
I've been preaching that forever.
Forever. What makes a millennial? Age? I don't think so. I met some really, really kind of shallow boomers, and I've met some really shallow millennials. I've met some really, really smart millennials and really smart boomers. So it's what people are engaged in. We're not for everybody, clearly. That's why hotels list. I've shared this a number of times. We're not trying to be the anti-anything.
Right.
What we are is part of the choice of accommodation. That's it. We're just part of the lexicon of choice. We're a supermarket. You want to pick us, or do you want to pick something more conventional, or do you want to pick something more extreme like Airbnb, or do you want to talk about an experience? I'd then go back to Airbnb. Staying on a boat is a cool thing, but that's probably sometimes not what you're looking for. But you could have the same experience, different experiences in the same week. We find that with our customers, and Monday through Thursday, they keep the apartment all week. Once they get to Thursday night or Friday, they're off to do something completely different. It could be, again, the boat in Catherine's dock through Airbnb. It could be with One Fine Stay. It could be with their timeshare somewhere. It could be, just simply going to the beach and going to a B&B. Then they come back to our world. In Mode, it's a combination of both. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of crack in the wall.
I love it. I love that you say you're not trying to be something for everyone, because you can't be. And to equate it to what you were saying about food and beverage, I think we've seen that in the food industry, right? The mass-produced foods are losing their way with consumers who are looking for more artisanal products.
That's
with
right.
The experiences and the stories that are behind it, and fresh. Exactly.
To your point, that's a great metaphor. Is people want to know what the ingredients are, and riboflavin 484 285 is not something you find in your back garden. And so you want to know what you're eating. You want to know where you're living. You want to know what you're driving. You want to go and, live in a better style and quality.
Right, and that's really what it's all about in this day and age. And you get to have that deeper experience within the neighborhood and really explore. And I love that you have people recommending things to each other, and you're fostering that.
It does take some of the pressure off us then, too.
Right.
To be clear.
It sure does. But it's interesting that you could compete on that level when you have Yelp and you have all of these other services that give you advice. But I think people are still interested in getting the advice directly from someone near them or in that same kind of area of them, right?
The world, again, coming back to your theme of it's a noisy place, if you can look somebody in the eye or get a recent review, that's far more valuable than let me go online and take a random shot at it. Okay, and you think of it, Amazon has taken that to a whole new level.
Right.
They don't tell you about the products.
No.
They let the community tell you about the product.
Yeah, it's really pretty amazing that they do that, and they've had such success with that.
So the community tells the community whether that television or that garage system or whatever the product is of any value.
Right.
So who do you believe, Amazon or the community?
Well, yeah, I think you're always more apt to believe the community because it has that sense of impartiality.
Yeah, and in fairness to Airbnb, they've done the same thing. The community tells the community that what the quality of that experience was.
But I don't want to beat them up because I think that they are doing a great job at disrupting the industry, and quite frankly, they're scaring the bejesus out of a lot of the CEO guys that I know that are in the traditional hotel sphere because it's something that makes them uncomfortable in the sense that they don't have their arms fully wrapped around it. They don't understand the cultural shift that's really occurring around it. They say experiences a lot, but if you have 1,000 hotels in your brand, how do you actually deliver that when you're dealing with a legacy kind of a way of thinking? So it's a lot harder, and the hotel industry itself has been very difficult to adapt anything in a timely way. It's almost an afterthought. You've got the opportunity now, because you're a younger, brighter type of an organization, to tap into that zeitgeist. Plus, you happen to, I think, be in a sphere that more naturally matches some of the things that we're seeing in the macro societal trends.
We're onboarding about up to 400 significant customers a quarter.
Wow.
Okay. So,
and that's not just one guy, that's like companies.
No, they're companies, right? So when you look at a company making that decision, that we're part of their solution, they're looking for something else that says we want to be free to roam. Free to roam. So our attitude is we're putting our customer first and wrapping it in the brand rather than immersing the customer in the brand first. Right?
Right.
You get to run. You set the fence. You tell us where you want to roam, and then we'll work with you wherever you roam to.
I love that you're saying that, because I think that that's one of the mistakes.
So that's our brand.
That's a mistake that a lot of companies make, is they think that people want to stay specifically with their hotel. But they don't say, I want to stay at X hotel. They say, I want to go to this city, or I want to have this experience. And the hotel and anything that follows in the food is always the last part of that, at least the last part of the inspiration process.
So you want, if you put the customer first, and there's lots of inspirations for this. You look at Jeff Bezos, we'll stick with Amazon. He puts the customer first. The customers move from, if you say to them, I'm going to deliver in 2 days, the next thing they're going to say to you, I want you to deliver in 1 day. Then they get to 1 day and they say, I want it now, today. Well, you look at what he's done, it's just followed the demand of the customer. It says, right, I know they want it today. Well, I better start looking at drones.
Right.
Right? Can I do drop-off points?
Yeah, now we're talking Uber doing same-day delivery on products.
Right. So the consumer, the customer, is making the decision as to where they allocate their share of wallet.
Yep.
So why would I try and constrict that? So our company, what we're trying to do is say to a corporation, okay, if you've got interns, you tell us where those interns need to be and we'll find a way to make them happy. If we book a lot of hotel rooms, believe it or not.
Really?
Millions of dollars worth of hotel rooms. So you want them in a hotel, I'll book them in a hotel while they transition to an apartment. Or if they want to stay in a hotel full-time, I'll do that too. Whatever you want. So it's about our customer and saying to them, look, if you have an executive that is going on a short-term assignment, we'll help you with that. If you've got an interim intake, we'll help you with that. If you're retooling your manufacturing plant in Bratislava, we can stand that up too. We've done that for Airbus and others. So, but the focal point is the customer. We go to them with a solution, and we ask them, where do they want to roam? You roam, we follow. We're just part of the caravan.
So how do you keep laser focus on making sure that's your primary goal with the company? Because you can so easily get distracted from that.
Easily. So culturally, we think about it in this manner. I know, I should have some very flashy mission statement and vision statement, and we don't.
Right.
Right? We have two premise, and it's wrapped in our growth goal. So we want to get tens from our teammates, so we put our teammates above the customer. Right? We survey our teammates.
Wasn't it Richard Branson who said it's wrong that customers come first, your employees come first, they'll take care of the customer?
It's only taken me 40 years to get there. Yeah.
Well, I thank Facebook for that.
I'm a slow learner. I believe me. Don't be coming here for inspiration. So we put our teammates first. And if we get tens from our teammates and we have a work environment that they trust and that we all engage in, then it seems reasonable that when we request our teammates to engage to get a 10 from our customer, that's a reasonable bargain. That's a fair bargain, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We're all going to engage together because I have a role. We view ourselves as a jigsaw puzzle as opposed to a hierarchy. My role is as important as my teammate who is cleaning a unit.
Right.
Period. No unit. But
Right.
if I don't do what I'm meant to do and they don't do what they're meant to do, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
So that's the bargain. Then in turn, that puts the customer first. So my customers, I have two customers, my teammate and the customer. So that helps us focus our mind. We want to, we have 4 strategies to grow the business. We want to double it over 4 years. So it's tens, and 2x4x4. That's it. That's our entire plan.
Right.
So for those of you that are listening, there you go. That's it.
You just gave away the secret. Now
Yeah,
everybody's going to be
done.
running and doing that. But I love that you have different brands for different purposes. You were talking about like the interns, for example. They might want to stay in the studio product or the places product, but then you've got some of the higher end executives that might feel more comfortable in the residence or the exclusive product.
And mode starts to transition them through it. It's like a life cycle. You might come in for a week to 3 weeks for mode, but then that may feel a little cramped. And then you want to move, and if you're staying for 6 months, living or residences or something like that would work. We've equally worked with some of the hotel companies that, they'd like a city center location and we don't have it, so we'll book them in at, the Residence Inn. And we've done that too.
That's so antithetical to everything I would think that you would want to do as a CEO.
That's okay. Customer wins.
Right.
So they come back to us again and again because they know that we're agnostic about the choice. They choose, we provide the solution. So sometimes we are putting people in other people's brands.
I'm shaking my head at that because it's really so
doesn't make any sense, does it?
Anything I've ever heard before.
Yeah, so again, it comes back to if the customer says, I want to stay in Times Square, fine.
Right. I mean, if you're dealing with XYZ company and they put X amount of nights in your properties throughout the year, then why wouldn't you want to facilitate them with this other way?
That's right.
Plus, I would think the selfish part of it is you retain control over that customer's journey. So
if we make it easy for them to book, we handle all of the back office.
Right.
We provide it. We guarantee it too. Inside the Residence Inn, our brand guarantee carries. So if their first night is not up to our 4 drivers, it's free. And every night, 50% thereof is off until it's rectified.
That's pretty gutsy.
So we stand behind where we put you, we stand behind it. Period.
So you say double in size. That's pretty lofty goals.
Now we're well on the way to that.
That's
so
excellent.
It's about client acquisition and retention, like everybody. And we're hoping that our little formula where we put the customer first and says wherever you want to roam around, we'll roam with you, and we'll make it easy for you to do that, and we'll provide all the back office to support it, and it's a single accommodation solution.
I love it. So I have a lot of road warriors listening to this. This thing. And
thank you for all for listening and not switching off at this point. If I were you, I would.
I'm just glad we got him this far.
Yeah. Grateful.
But what I just want to share one more story about an experience that I had with you and how it really revealed to me how different this could be. We've had a relationship for a number of years. You've been kind enough to speak on some panels that I've moderated in the past, and you're like, hey, go check out one of these products. So I got to do that in New York City, and I was really blown away by, instead of having that room that I joked with you about earlier being all compact and tight, I had a real apartment. I was able to get work done. I was able to have people come over and watch a football game on Monday night. I mean, I got to have a real
Right.
a real different type of experience. I hate using that word over and over. They got to come up with another word for experience. Maybe we'll work on that after this this podcast. But I just totally fell in love with the whole idea that you don't have to have the traditional hotel experience. You can go somewhere else and still have all of your needs satisfied, and some pleasant surprises too, like housekeeping not knocking on your door every 20 minutes and disturbing you, you know?
You get to set that.
Yeah. Which is great. And I stayed with you, I think, 3 or 4 nights. I didn't have housekeeping once, and it was just like being at home. And it reminded me of when I used to live in New York City, except your apartment was much nicer and larger, and I had great views.
Thank you for that.
No, but it's the truth. So I would really encourage, check out BridgeStreet Global Hospitality the next time you're going to a big city, for example, because you might have the opportunity to get that real, authentic experience that you're looking for that's beyond the traditional hotel experience. But, you know, I love the traditional hotels too, so you probably want to check those out. Any final words, Sean?
As always, appreciate what you do. Because you're always the other edge of the coin. You know, you're on the edge, maybe not the other side, but you always got that edge spinning. So
I hope so.
Keep us thinking. Keep us thinking.
That's just me living in Brooklyn for all those years. Which, by the way, let me plug this. I'm hitting Brooklyn on my way home, and I'm going to be recording a show with Matt Fisher, who does amazing barbecue in Brooklyn. It's the #1 place in Brooklyn. I think I just...
As a patty, I love barbecue. Can you believe that?
Do you?
Yeah, it's really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's from the years down in Texas. It was good stuff.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, after we get off the mics, I will tell you all about the ribs that I smoked for my party during the July 4th holiday, which led to my demise.
Yeah, Glenn, thanks for your time.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.